Today we're hitting the road to find real affordable homes, shed to home conversions, tiny homes, and even some creative setups that people are actually living in. These aren't model homes or fancy Instagram builds. These are real places, real people, and real solutions for living affordably. Stick with me because some of what we find today might surprise you. So in our area, there's a lot of good examples of folks living in small, affordable homes and thinking outside the box and doing what they can with what they have, using their common sense and what they have to make do. And I think it just goes to show you that you don't have to follow a certain path that's set forth by society to live a certain way, to get a 30-year mortgage and live in a big house and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. There's so many different ways that you can live and live happily. So I'm excited to take you guys around my neck of the woods and see what we can find. So some of these places we're finding the person owns the property and they've built a tiny home or put a camper on them, but a lot of them are just low-cost rentals. And like several of these RV parks are very affordable, $300-400 a month. So just imagine if you're stuck living in a big city on a fixed income, paying $1,000 a month rent. If you could somehow get up enough money to get yourself a used camper or RV and move away from where that high cost of living is, and find if nothing else, if you can't afford to buy property, if you could just find a low cost place to rent, how much better off would you be? Here's a perfect example of what I was talking about. One of these little RV parks that someone has set up on their property here. It's just a small little place. Just a small little RV place. Not very big. And all it is a gravel lot that they set up on their property. But if you'll notice there, $400 a month with full hookups. You were paying $400 lot rent for an RV camper spot, and your camper was paid for, and you were paying $1,000 in the city to rent an apartment. Well, you've just saved $600 a month, which doesn't sound like a lot of money, but it could be could be a huge difference in somebody's life. Give you a chance to have money to put back and save a little to do even better. Maybe even buy your own property. I'm just saying there's more than one way to skin a cat, as the old saying goes. You know, if you get creative and use your common sense, you have to obviously be a little flexible about where you're living and how you're living, but there are more affordable ways of doing things. Just have to think outside the box sometimes. Let's see what else we can find. It's a really neat community here. It's a tiny home and RV community. It's a little fairly new little community, and it has 2 or 3 tiny homes in it, as well as you saw, several RVs. And what you're gonna see in our area is there's more and more folks that are rural landowners, have a larger piece of land in there, and they're creating little RV parks on their property as a source of income. We had a large company come in nearby and build a plant, and so there was tons of workers, construction workers and different things, working on this project for months and months. I mean, actually probably more like over a year. And so you started seeing a lot of these little RV spaces pop up on people's property where they were taking advantage of the opportunity to rent RV spaces to these workers and construction workers. But even after construction ended, I think they're still finding that they're able to rent these places out to folks in an RV as an affordable living arrangement. This is really neat. What this landowner did. I remember when this place was being built, this little tiny home, and then shortly after, they built a second one. So they built these little cabins. And then if you'll notice, they've got 2 more. Looks like they're gonna be building. This is the coolest little house. It's not a tiny house, but it is tiny. Here's a prime example of a shed conversion. And a couple more. Really small, 12 by 12 looks like it. Here's a cool house. That's actually a trailer that someone built a room onto. Those are cool too. And I always thought this was the cutest little building. They built this, and I think they were gonna make a little ice cream shop out of it. And I don't know that it ever got opened. But it's just the neatest little building. And I always thought, well, that would have made a nice little tiny home. You know, I've had a lot of people comment on my videos, and most of them, the majority of them, are really positive, and they're good comments, and they're understanding what I'm talking about and what I'm trying to represent as far as helping folks find affordable housing. But occasionally we get negative comments, which you're going to do on the internet, right? Anytime you post something for people to see. But occasionally we get negative comments, and it'll be something along the lines of, I can't believe people are living like this, and what in the world has this, country come to when people are living in a shed, or um, and I guess I kind of understand what they're saying, but people are so conditioned to what they consider to be normal. Um, but what you have to remember is that everyone is not in your situation. Everyone's situation is different. There's folks out there that don't have the income to be able to afford a $300,000 home, with over $1,000 or $1,500 or $2,000 house payments and mortgage payments. And I understand that it's an investment, and that home values usually go up, and you usually make money off that kind of investment. But everyone's situation is different. Everyone just can't do it. They don't have the means. They don't have the income. A lot of times they don't have the credit for whatever reason, that's happened financially to them. And they just can't qualify for a mortgage, first of all. And so they end up being stuck. They end up being the working class poor is what I've always been considered myself. Even though I make a decent, I guess, lower middle to middle income, but I still consider myself the working poor, because you make just enough to get by, but not quite enough to just do great under the normal circumstances, and normal by getting a mortgage, paying those kind of things. So sometimes we just have to think about things in a different way, and folks have to do what they can to be successful in their own life. And I personally just don't think that what you have and the price of your home has anything to do with your happiness or a measure of success in your life. I think riches go way beyond any type of material wealth or monetary measurement. I think richness comes from happiness, being content in your life, and of course, more than anything, your experiences that you experience, as well as the experiences of enjoying relationships with others, those in your life. That's really what it's all going to come down to in the end, guys. I don't think anybody has ever laid on their deathbed looking at the end and saying, man, I wish I'd have worked just a little longer. I wish I'd have made just a little more money. I wish I'd have had just a little bigger house. No, they're gonna be thinking, I wish I'd have spent more time with my kids and my grandbabies and my friends, and a little more time doing things that I always wanted to do that I never got a chance to do. And that all comes out to having nothing to do with money or how big your house is. So what it all comes down to is you do you. Everyone has to live their own life in the best way that they know how. And in the end, you have to answer to yourself and the good Lord. And in some areas, maybe the government. So that's it for the ride along. I hope seeing these real world examples sparked some ideas, or at least showed you that living affordably doesn't have to mean giving up comfort or dignity. Whether it's a camper or a rented lot or a shed conversion or a small home tucked away in a rural corner, people are getting creative and they're finding freedom by living on their own terms. If this kind of living inspires you, be sure to hit that subscribe button and stick around. We've got a lot more to explore, especially as we start building a tiny building that'll be a home for my daughter and grandson this spring. You won't want to miss that. And hey, if you've seen a cool tiny setup in your area, drop a comment below. I'd love to hear about it. Thanks for riding along with me today, and until next time, take care of yourself and remember, needing less is the real key to freedom. See you guys.